it's instead of somebody's, give me a make me move price, it's like, hey, what will your buyer pay? And so they have a different motivation right now. It's like, it's actually, when you go deeper into it, for somebody to call in this current climate, probably something a little bit more is going on in their life versus before it was like, hey, let me see if I can make an extra couple $100,000 because the market's crazy.
All right, this is awesome. Welcome back to Are You Winning? I'm Coach Craig Zuber, and I am here with the one and only Gene Arant. Gene, thanks so much for being here. Gene is a business owner. He owns the real estate team out of Austin, Texas. Man, I'm grateful that you're here, Gene. You guys have been doing between $3 and $4 million in gross commission income over the last couple of years. And you're also known, Gene, for attending this program called Gold like 20 times. Is that right?
That's it. True? I'm a very slow learner.
You're a slow learner, or you love to learn? Which one?
I think a little both, honestly. It was something that, it hit me at the right time when in 2009, when my business had cratered, and it changed the trajectory of my business. And I doubled my business 3 years in a row by really making 20 contacts a day with the right skill set, with the right mindset.
Absolutely. I love it. All right. So bold 20 times. And then over the last, couple of years, Gene, it's probably like 2.5 years, almost 3 years in the making, that you've been known more and more about growing your business to the golden letter.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, let's just jump into that real quick. Like, you've been winning at the golden letter. So just walk us through it. Right? Like,
sure.
What exactly did you do to win at this so-called golden letter? And for the audience that has no idea what we're talking about, just tell them a little bit about what the golden letter is, and then what exactly you did to win.
Sure. The golden letter is very simple. And what it is a letter that arrives in your mailbox, hand addressed to you, with no return address on it. And today's mail, very rarely do you get a letter that's addressed to you with your name on it. You open it up, and it basically just says, hey, Craig, we have a client that would be interested in buying your home. Do you have any interest in selling your home? If so, please give us a call at this phone number, Gene Arant. And there's no letterhead to it. It's signed, but it is customized to them in the sense that it's got their address in their name. And that's it. And from there, if somebody has an interest in possibly selling their home, they pick up the phone, they call that phone number. That phone number for us goes to a voicemail that is my voice that simply says, hey, this is Gene. I'm sorry I missed your call. Please leave a message. By the way, if you're calling by the letter I sent you, please leave your name and number in your address so I can call you right back. And then when that happens, that is immediately transcribed to my VA. Virtual assistant, and they pull all the information on the house, past MLS, tax records, all that fun stuff, send it to our inside sales team. The inside sales team immediately gets on the phone and just, has a script of, hey, Gene wanted me to get a hold of you. You had called about your home. How can we help you? Boom, boom, boom. And then it goes into a motivational script from there to see how motivated they are to sell their home. Simple.
It's simple. All right. So we're going to go back to like that 2.5 years ago, whenever you and I actually had that first conversation. And I remember pretty vividly, like, this was during the transition really with COVID. And so how it all came to play was more or less a strategy to get to the consumer.
Yes.
And no matter what your message is, if you can't get the consumer to open up that piece of mail, right? So the step one is like handwrite it so that what's the statistics of people opening up that piece of mail, right? Like, we're going to handwrite it because statistically, if it comes in handwritten, people open it. So no matter what's said in a
they're not going to throw it away.
Not going to throw it away, right?
No
So
way.
step one is create a reason for them to open it.
Yep.
Step two is now create a message for them to call you.
Yep.
Right? Is that simple?
Yep. We make it easy. They want to sell your house, we have a buyer. That's it.
Okay. I love that. So,
And really from there, I
go
was going to
ahead.
say from there, we've got a little more technical in the sense of, we don't just randomly mail anywhere. It's, we pull the statistics for the areas, and we're fortunate enough to be able to have a title company in our area just pull the absorption rates for zip codes. And so we can see how many people are in the zip code, how many households, how many houses are selling per year, per month in that zip code, and what are the sales prices. So, we immediately went to the highest turnover rate that we could find, and we went to the highest price points. And so, with that, it could be 5,000 homes you're going to. And, we started with 300 letters a week, and today we do about 1,800 a week.
1,800 letters a week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's interesting because, with agents, they always want to know what messaging works. Well, you're two and a half years now in the making of this. Does it still work?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, through a COVID market that had no inventory into now a shifting recession market, it still works. The phone still rings every single day. People still pick up the phone and want to know if you've got somebody for their home, what will they pay for it? And there's a reason behind that. Sure. Is it that they want to cash out? They want to, get a super high price for it? Most of the time when you get deeper into it, there's a reason. And that goes back to skill set that changes, with the market, and, which makes us better in order to be able to get, to keep our conversions up, as to changing our message on the other end about how we can best help them.
Right. But the goal of the golden letter is actually to get people to call you so that you can have a conversation and figure out what exactly it is that they're looking to accomplish.
Yes.
Is it any more than that?
No, because, I've been doing this for many, many, many years now, and, been on the phones, super solid since 2009. And I can definitely say that in 2009, 80% of the people answered the phone when I called, and 20% didn't. Now it's the opposite. Now I'm lucky if I get 20% of the people to answer the phone. So to have a reason for people to call me versus me calling them is, a huge adjustment. It was a huge part of our business in for the last 3 years, but even this year, it's the biggest part of our, it's not the biggest part over our past client referrals. However, it is number 2 in our lead sources. And people are going to want to know, well, what's this cost, right? What's it cost? What's the cost? And, we're at about 90 cents a piece. That's what it costs us. Now, that kicks out over $1 million a year. So we're right at 10 times, about costs about $100,000 to make $1 million.
Is that a good investment?
I feel like it's a great one.
Right. And that's that's really the whole key, right? Like, there's one thing to evaluate costs. There's another to put it through the lens of an investment. This is an investment that we're making in the future.
Now, right now I'm thinking, why aren't I doing $200,000 a year? Thanks a lot, Coach Zuber.
No, but okay. So let's go back for a second, right? You're saying, oh my gosh, I'm making a $100,000 investment in a year. How come I'm not doubling it? Well, what would you say to somebody that didn't have success with this?
They changed it. And I've had a lot of calls from friends and different people from around the country that said, hey man, I've tried this, but I'm like, so talk to me, how many did you send out and for how long? And did you change the letter at all? Well, I put it on my letterhead. Okay. Did you put a return address? Yeah. My envelopes already had that printed on. I'm like, dude, don't do it. If they see that it's from a real estate agent on the outside, they got a decent idea of what the message is on the inside. So it goes in the trash. So you got to eliminate that. Second, you've got to know that where you're sending it to. Are you sending it to a high turnover rate area? If you're sending it to an area that nobody ever moves, they may look at it, may end up in a drawer, and maybe they pull it out someday, but chances are it's going in the trash. So you got to know who you're sending it to. And then the consistency of it. will absolutely, allow you to win. Because if a batch goes out and another one goes out in 2 or 3 weeks, another one goes out in every 2 or 3 weeks, there's just, it's very inconsistent. So when you do get the calls, you're inconsistent because your skill set isn't consistently working with golden letter sellers.
Right. Isn't that interesting though? So again, if we go back to when you and I first had the conversation, it was something that, Nicole and I were executing on over a decade ago. So I already knew that it worked. And, fast forward to all these years and the people that I've coached and all the data that has come through that we paid attention to, the reason why we know that it works is because of how much data that we have. And so when somebody says it's not working, it's very simple at this point. Either, they changed it to be more creative, thinking that they could actually enhance it when everything that they've added to something that's so simple that works actually goes against you. So you're just not following the process, basically, right?
Yep.
Like they're skipping steps. They're not following the process. They're trying to be too creative in something that already works. And it's a huge mistake. And I see it all the time, man. People, or they execute on an idea without a full-fledged plan. Because if you remember the first time we had a conversation, I'm like, look, in order for this to work, there's a couple of things that's going to need to happen.
Yeah.
One of them is I need you to look at this like a standalone business, like its own entity, right? Like that's why we're going to pull these numbers. That's why we're going to pull turnover rates. We're going to make an investment in this. You're the one that's going to need to take these calls so you actually understand what happens when these calls come in, and we're going to document that entire process for scalability. Remember all that?
Yeah. I mean, the first time it was my cell phone was on the letter. And so my phone just started blowing up, and, I was having to kind of wing it because I didn't know who I was talking to on the other line, and exactly which property it was. And they're expecting me to know that letter only went to them. And therefore 123 Main Street was the house that I should have in my head and know everything about. So that's why we shifted it over to the voicemail. And even if they don't leave a message, we get notified immediately that a golden letter. And so one other thing I left out is that we set up a phone number for each zip code. So when somebody calls, even if they don't leave a message, we know what zip code golden letter they just called from. So we already know generally where they're at in the demographics and in the schools and all that fun stuff. So then we just call them back and just, get on the phone with them and say, hey, did you by chance call us on the letter we sent you? And we, at that point we can narrow, obviously we get their information really quickly in order to be able to give them an evaluation of what their house might be worth.
Got it. Okay. Anything else that you want to share about the golden letter? What's worked, what's not worked?
A couple things. One would be, so we have a couple single moms that do this on the side. They write these letters out. They do these addressing at night. We spent $300 on a little folding machine, so it folds the letters for them 50 at a time, so it speeds things up. And you can buy stamps and save like one cent per stamp by buying them in bulk. And since we're doing thousands of them, it adds up. One person, her handwriting was so good that I told her, this looks fake. I said, I need it to look a little bit. And, because there are machines out there that obviously duplicate handwriting. And so, and then I had just the opposite happen where I had somebody, she was having her husband do some, and a friend of a friend sent me a picture of the letter, and it looked like a 3-year-old wrote the address on there. So I'm like, all right, we gotta keep it, we gotta inspect these a little bit. So anyway, those are little things, but you just, things you never think about, in the sense of you just think somebody's going to address something and it'll look normal, but.
Right. So it's a process though, right? Like you made a decision, you chose to execute on this. You took the bull by the horns, you documented the process, probably documented a lot of your lessons, right? Like how to improve it, get it better.
Oh, yes.
Knowing why you're tracking everything to make sure, like, hey, you're getting the return on the investment.
Yep, we can see each cost, from the paper to the printing to the stamps to the letters, to the labor costs, per hour of what we know this person's averaging 85 letters an hour. This person's only averaging 40. And it's like, no, we need somebody else, because we know that, the average, can easily be more than one a minute, that somebody's writing an address. So, little things like that, because you're like, well, my costs all of a sudden going up per piece. And so you've got to, be aware of that. And you just, those things you don't know until you put somebody, who's writing out addresses for hours at a time as to what they can perform. So.
All right. And in the simple form, the message that was working 2.5 years ago is actually still working equally as good today, knowing that we've transitioned from a 2 or 3% interest rate up to a 7 or 7.5% interest rate, right?
Yeah, it's just different. Yeah, you're getting different calls, and it's, instead of somebody's give me a make me move price, it's like, hey, what will your buyer pay? And so they have a different motivation right now. It's like, it's actually, when you go deeper into it, for somebody to call in this current climate, probably something a little bit more is going on in their life versus before. It was like, hey, let me see if I can make an extra couple $100,000 because the market's crazy, right? So it's a just identifying that is the most important thing.
Right. But just for clarity purposes, the letter itself is still producing.
It is producing, and yes,
it was 2.5 years ago. So the phone's ringing statistically the same amount. The conversation may have changed about what you guys end up uncovering.
Yes.
The letter itself is still doing the job.
Yep. Yeah. The only thing we try to adjust is the absorption rates, because the absorption rates the turnover rates have gone down with COVID. People aren't moving as much. So we used to see, we want anything above 6% turnover rate is what we wanted. And we got all the way up to, some areas were up to 11%. Now there's really nothing above 6%. And so now we're just having to adjust, and we're taking 4 to 6% turnover rates, just because people are staying in their houses longer.
Hey there, I'm Jeremy Herman, CEO and co-founder of ClarityNOW. Listening to this podcast means that you're committed to your career and to growing your business. You're the reason why we created ClarityNOW. You see, ClarityNOW is the real estate software designed to transform real estate agents into business owners. Now, being a great real estate agent is an entirely different skill set than being a great business owner. That's where ClarityNOW can help. ClarityNOW is powerful because some of the industry's top real estate coaches built it. We know what insights as coaches top performers need to grow their business. So, do you have a business plan based on your net profit goals? Do you know how you're performing against your quarterly goals? Do you generate a P&L each month? Do you have the best tools to help your team members hit their goals? Are you managing your company's pipeline and conversion reports? Do you have the data that you need at your fingertips to run a successful business? ClarityNOW can solve all these problems. Visit us at www.claritynowre.com and schedule a personalized tour to learn more. Mention this ad and we'll throw in 1 month for free. Congratulations on your success, and let's take your business to the next level together.
So you've been winning at that for the last 2.5 years. Now what? Now what are you winning at? So you and I had this discussion. We're seeing that agents are struggling right now with getting properties under contract, either getting prices positioned to sell so the listings will actually go under contract, or getting buyers under contract. They're struggling with both of those. You guys are winning at that, aren't you?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's had to bring some skill set back we haven't had to use in a long time with our sellers. And, one of the quickest way to get out of real estate, and we're really listing focused for sure as a team. And quickest way to get out of business is be carrying a bunch of listings that aren't selling, that are overpriced with unmotivated sellers. And so being able to accumulate the data for the sellers as to where the market is and where it's going, where it's heading, and where most likely they're going to end up if they don't take our advice is really critical. scripting that out with the agents and the inside sales team on the value proposition of how we can get ahead of the market. We went from we've been in a pretty good seller's market even before COVID, not near what it became. So our houses didn't have to be perfect. We still spend a little extra time getting them ready. However, in every one of our houses gets staged. We just feel very strong about that. But it came to a point where during COVID, if you had a listing, you were going to sell it. It didn't matter the price or the condition. The market was going to absorb it. And then as we started things changing from June of this year on, it slowly became, the price was okay, but the condition really mattered. It wasn't updated. And now today, in a quick 4 months, it has gone from didn't matter to the condition mattered, but the price didn't matter. Now price and condition matter. It has to look badass and it has to be priced badass, period. That's what it's going to take. So the buyers, especially these interest rates, they don't want to buy a house and then try to figure out how to source a remodel with high interest rates coupled with inflated pricing on materials and labor. They'll overpay for something that's already done, which overpaying today still looks like a discount from where we were.
Got it. Okay. Let's rewind just a little bit. So you're telling me that you're dusting off the old playbook, you're scripting more often. So what does that look like? How often do you guys practice in your office or in your organization?
So we have a script practice pretty much every day at 11 o'clock. We used to do it at 9 to 9:30, but we got into more of this recession and shifting market. We shifted it out of lead gen time. So we're really doing everything we can to protect. We moved all meetings outside of the 8:30 to 11:30 time frame, and really protecting that. And closings, walkthroughs, meetings, 401s, team scripting, all of that is shifted out of that time frame to protect it. So we start strong in the morning. We get a lot of wins with our conversations that we're all having with people. And it's creating a stronger momentum for everybody daily. And this is what we did in 9 through 12, just every day grinded through the first part of the day, and it snowballed. And so we're going to do that again. And I really feel like that's where we're winning right now. Everybody's getting a mindset and they understand wartime and what it looks like. We got a big screen in the lead gen room, and it's got some kind of a wartime slide up there every day, something different. It's telling people it's grit time.
Okay. So step one is you got to get everybody on the same page.
Oh, yes.
Step two is you've readjusted your schedule back to the 8:30 to 11. But what do you do in that time?
We're on the phones. Yeah, we're having conversations with people about real estate. That's it. We're touching more people. Before, the phones would ring or the inside sales team would be generating a lot of the conversions. Now it's the agents that are back in the ring, making the calls, having the conversations, and really it's just turning up the number of touches per day. That's really what we're doing. Turning up the number of touches per day, turning over more rocks to find the gold.
Yeah. It's interesting, Gene, about this whole industry is when you look at the root cause of almost any conversation when it comes to building out a real estate business, there's only 3 roots, right? Like that usually happen. It's either in your schedule, it's in your skill set, or it's in your relationships, all layered with mindset. So it sounds to me like that's what's actually happening in the organization. One, you got your whole mindset shifted on what it's going to take to win. Then you get your schedule completely dialed in now to get back to a winning schedule. And during that, you're also focusing on your skill set. So I got my schedule dialed in. We're completely working on our skill set to be able to win in this market. And you guys have always been relationship focused, right? So winning formula is get my head straight, get my skills, get my schedule straight, get my skill set straight, and get my relationship straight, and everything else will start to work itself out.
Yep. I mean, things were really really, I don't want to call it easy because beginning of COVID sucked. But the last 18, 24 months was a different market that allowed us to get out of, certain things that made us different and differentiate ourselves and memorable in the past. So we're back to that. We had a good coaching call this week, talked a lot about being memorable and what that looks like. And so that's a discussion of the team right now. What are you going to do today to be memorable? What person are you going to help? What person are you going to bless? What are you going to go over and above that person is going to remember you?
Amen. I love it. And you did bring in the whole value prop thing. Like what sets you apart? What's the Arant team all about? So are you willing to share that? Like what makes you guys different? Why you?
We're firm believers that we've got an opportunity to change people's lives through real estate and our team members and our clients. And, somebody moving is right behind death and taxes and sickness, right? It sucks. It's not an easy thing to do. And whether you're buying or selling, you're dealing with the lender and the transition and family and disruption and all that. And so we've got a great opportunity to make a difference in people's lives and make that easier. And there's so much we can do to help in that. And so we focus on that. That's really what we're here to do. If we keep doing that day after day after day, and then staying in touch with people in a consistent way and bringing value, we're going to get the referrals, and we're going to be blessed in our business by giving first.
So that is awesome. But how do you do it though? Like, I know how you do it. I know what you do. I understand who you are and the ethos that you operate from, but what exactly do you do? Explain to us, what is it that you do to show that you're memorable or to show that you care? What do you do?
Well, you got a system, right? You got a system. You've only got so much capacity yourself in your brain and so much willpower. So you got to have a system to be able to touch people. So that's whether it's your CRM reminding you, whether it's, taking care of your body, whether it's getting up and getting a good workout in. So you've got the energy throughout the day to make those tough calls. I mean, I don't love getting up and getting on the phone. It doesn't fire me up in the morning. However, what I know is that by doing that every day, I get to have a pretty badass life. I mean, I really get to work with some cool people, earn really good living, and make a difference. And so, it's once, when I first took Bold, I started making these contacts and started having these relationships. And then all of a sudden I had to figure out a different system in order to be able to control my time, in order to be able to make more contacts. And then all of a sudden I had more work to do because I'd made more relationships and had more contacts and created more momentum and more momentum. So each time, I was doing that, I had to add a person or add a system. And so all of our people and our systems are built around changing lives through real estate, period. If you don't give a crap, I want to use the S word, you don't give a crap, you're not going to work around here, period. If I walk up and ask you, why is this person moving, and you don't know, that's not good. You've got to, how can you help them? And I say that more on the client care side, right? If they get a contract from a buyer's agent, they have to know why that, where is this buyer coming from and why are they making a move in order to best help them. And, we added a concierge to our team this year and somebody who can actually make that proactive phone call and reach out and say, Craig, I know you're moving from Hawaii, checking in. Do you have any pets? What kind of schools? Is there any special needs you have for your kids? Those kinds of things, for your family. How can we best help you? I know you're coming in to look at houses with Gene this weekend. Do you guys already have dinner plans? Do you need any reservations? Is there any special shopping you want to go see? Is there any parks? Is there any sports activities that are important to you and your family? All those kinds of things. So I could have a handful of those conversations a week, but she's having dozens of them. So, that's where we're making the difference.
Right.
That's where we're winning.
That's where I was going, Gene. I'm like, look, you don't have to complicate this. You're the epitome of what's interesting because you have a son named this acronym Ford. Like,
Yes.
talk about Ford of family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. But you live it though. That's the difference, is you live it. And what I mean by that is, you know my kids' names, you know my bride's name. When I came in from from Hawaii, it wasn't very long before I got a little gift, that was Cowboys related, because you did research on what is this guy like and what are these guys about. It's that, right? Like, caring enough to actually have impact on the relationship. I think that's the difference between what you do, what sets you apart, and what a lot of others aren't doing. Let's just put it that way.
Gift of giving is is my love language for sure. And so it's, where that came from. We all have our different love languages, and that's one of mine.
Okay. See, you're winning through giving by actually giving a shit, which is
Yes.
you care to actually figure out and live the Ford acronym.
Yeah. And we do a lot. I mean, we got a moving truck, we got a pickup truck, and we have, 3 of our staff, we got them notary, they got their notary, so we can have clients come into the office to get things notarized, which you wouldn't believe how many people need a will, especially college time. Kids have to have stuff notarized, constantly something. And so, it's a simple way to touch and bring value to people. And so we're always looking for those kinds of things. We got power washers here. We have clients in our conference rooms all the time. Anyway, but you got to think about it, right? And then you got to put it in place, and then you got to go execute.
Right. Well, yeah, those are all the things that you're doing, but the baseline root of all of this stuff is that you care enough to have it in order to service your clients at a deep level.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
Absolutely.
there's a massive difference between somebody that has a transactional business and has a relational business, and you have a relational business.
And I realize that I'm super blessed, and I've been able to have a great business, a great family, and a great location, an amazing city. And it's not too long where if you don't have the right mindset about who you are and work to stay humble and give, that people write you off. I mean, they don't want. I always want to work with the underdog. Unfortunately, in my market, I am not the underdog. However, I like to work with the underdog. So how can I still look like the underdog? That's what I look for. I'm like, how can we still look like we're hungry, like we want to make a difference? And I think that's what resonates with people, and that's what resonates with me. And so I'm attracted to that. I always want the underdog to win. So anyway, except for the Houston Astros, I want the Houston Astros to beat Philadelphia.
All right, just give us a tough, like, one or two of the toughest lessons that you've learned in your career.
Oh man, leverage immediately comes to mind. What it means to hire and put somebody, in business, to get in business with somebody, because I was never taught. I didn't get very far in college, and didn't have much business accolades. But Keller Williams was able to give me a decent platform to work off of, and hiring my true first assistant, for leverage, somebody that was an implementer. I've got great ideas, but she was an implementer, and she got shit done. And so that was a huge, that was amazing. And then going from that to my first buyer agent and taking that off the plate and having somebody else work with buyers, first having the fear that nobody could treat and care for the people like I do. And then realizing they can actually do it better because that's all they do. They're so good at it. They just concentrate it. And so you realize, hey, somebody actually is better at processing a contract than you are. Somebody's better than working with a buyer than you are. Maybe somebody's even better than taking a listing and really getting to the core of how you can help a seller. And so getting through that mindset that, wow, I can actually find people that are better than me, who truly want to impact and make a difference. That's huge, because then all of a sudden, especially as you get older, and all of a sudden you got 1 kid, 2 kid, 3 kids, and you're like, man, I used to just be able to work all the time. now I've got, other responsibilities and I've got to figure this out. So, that was massive. Finding leverage was amazing.
Okay. All right. So think about this question. You've been doing this for a while. So knowing everything that you know now,
Yes.
what prescriptive marching orders would you give to someone that wants to get to where you're at today in half the time it took you?
You could do what took me almost 30 years. You could do it in 5, no problem.
Great.
Yeah.
Now walk us through what would be the prescriptive marching orders? Do this, do this, do this, do this.
Yes. It would be simple. It would simply wake up every day with a willpower plan for the first half of the day. Wake up, have a good breakfast, work out, show up, give some love to the family, just like you see in the One Thing book, follow that perfect schedule. Use the strong willpower that you have of the day to do the hard stuff, which is make those 20 contacts. Take those 20 contacts that you made that day, and then any referrals you got out of that, put it into a database, a CRM that can then drip on those people, that over the next 5 years, you grow up from 100 to 200 to 2,000 to 4,000 people. You're done. You are done. You have 4,000 people that know who you are, that buy or think about real estate. You're a millionaire at that point. Now, if you want to grow from there, go for it. Add in the leverage, get more focused in those different things. But it's really every single person and you meet, you put them into a database, into a touch, you find a way to bring them value, you create mind shares. When they think of real estate, they think of you, right? That's it. It's Coke or Pepsi. That's all they're thinking about. It's you or one other person. You've got to get that mind share. You cannot be Mr. Pibb or Fanta. You have to be Coke or Pepsi. How are you going to do it? How are you going to be memorable? Period.
Got it. Love it. All right, let's transition then, Gene, and learn a little bit more about you on the personal side. You ready?
Sure.
So give us some insight on what TV show or movie or Netflix series are you currently streaming?
House of Dragon. Love it.
House of Dragon.
Yes.
Okay.
It's the prequel to Game of Thrones. Yes. My wife and I look very forward to our Sunday nights when that next episode comes out, which it just ended. So we got to find something else.
That's all right. How about a book? A book that's made the biggest impact on your career?
You really have 2. The MRA book was revolutionary for me in my business, and having a structure of how to grow a business, especially real estate based. And then second, Think and Grow Rich was really the first mindset book that I got into, that again, the title, it's not growing rich in money, it's growing rich in thoughts. And if you have the right thoughts, you can create the life you want. So, that book is, 100 years old now. But it's priceless. I've given it to so many people over the years.
Awesome. How about people? There's specific people, business owners, coaches, mentors that you study or have had the biggest impact on your life?
When I joined Keller Williams in 2000, I was very fortunate to be one of 30 people in a mastermind with Gary Keller. At that point, his group was small of top producers that he met with a few times a year. And so to be staying in that room and to now know him for 22 years and see the consistency of how he stayed as a human, an amazing father and husband. I still dream of the day that he writes a book about being a father, because he's got, that guy put so much thought into raising his son. It's just priceless. My first coach that kicked my butt, that held me the most accountable I've ever had, was Tony DeCello. He just stepped in and figured out how to cut through my BS. I've been very blessed with common sense and being able to BS my way through life, trying to figure things out. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, but it was a lot of hit and misses. And he really lined me up and kept me focused. And there was a point in June of 2013 that I had the best year in 6 months I'd ever had. And I was talking about taking a month off. I was talking about, man, I'm just so tired, man. I've just been working so hard. And he's like, Gene, you are taking your foot off the accelerator. You're going to show up, down the road here, and you're going to have to start your momentum again. And, what you're doing today shows up 90 days from now. And I looked up and I realized, holy crap, I have a pattern that I get things going. I work hard, get things going, get to these closings, and then I start peeling back and maybe not showing up as much like I was. And all of a sudden, oh crap, I don't have the closings lined up like I did. And here we go again. And here we go again. And that's exactly what I did. And he had me push through it. And I had an astronomical year. I did things I never thought I could do. And it kept that habit going. And also me realizing I was self-sabotaging. I'd never heard the word self-sabotage used that way. And I was like, wow, I really, this person just changed the trajectory of my life by giving me this information that I didn't even realize it. And that's, as you know, that's the power of a coach.
Absolutely. Love it. Okay. If you could go back to when you were 20 years old, what advice would you give yourself?
I would say, don't give a crap of as much as you think of what people think about you. Just stick to what you think is right. Don't worry about what other people think. I mean, I grew up pretty lower class family and didn't have a lot of self-esteem coming through school. And I had an upperclassman when I was sophomore in high school one time called me a dork. I was walking down the hall and he was walking the other way and he called me a dork, and it was absolutely life-changing. I'm like, I'm never going to be called a dork. I'm going to do everything I can to act right, do right, be right, whatever. And I built myself, a facade of going, I really give a crap of what other people think. And it slows you down so much from moving forward because you're worried about what other people think. Today, I still battle that.
All right. Good advice.
Yep.
So if you could pick any other profession outside of real estate, Gene, and I'm not talking about being a real estate investor or ancillary businesses in real estate. You could pick any other profession. What would it be?
Oh, it'd be easy. I would have a shop that customized cars. That would be it. I would buy new cars and make them just absolutely sick, just stupid, just slammed with big fat tires and just mean, ugly, just nastiness. I just haven't been able to figure out how that really makes money. Yes. It would have to be cars to celebrities, I guess, is the only way I can make it work.
Okay. Well, all right. I really want to thank our guest, Gene Arant. It's been great. Thanks for joining us today. And a special thank you to our sponsor, ClarityNOW. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast to get in the trenches with top real estate business owners who are winning and willing to share their lessons. Thanks again, Gene. It's been great, man.
My pleasure, my friend. Thank you.